First question was just, obviously, Reform UK want to scrap Northern Powerhouse and they want to do a big programme of privatisation and that sort of thing. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I just think, it shows how much they're kind of London people that they just come out and say, oh yeah, scrap Northern Powerhouse Rail. Why? We need new rail capacity here. And if they scrap Northern Powerhouse Rail, it will just leave people with the old railway lines and the poor services that we've always had. It just shows to me that Reform UK don't really understand the north of England. Anyone who lives here knows that railways are nowhere near good enough, and they need radical change if they are to get up to London standard. It just says to me that Reform UK are essentially, the leaders of it are London people who don't necessarily understand life in the north of England.
Another question was, a Commonwealth released a report on the state of privatisation and ownership in Britain. You have a situation where in the past 6 years, £125 million in profit gone out to shareholders from the bus network. But obviously Manchester's buses are now under public control. Is that a model that you think can work more broadly in Britain?
Yeah, absolutely, because we have limited now the excessive profits being taken out of our system, and the proceeds come back in to support lower fares in Greater Manchester. So we would say apply that model to buses everywhere, but also, let's get more public control of water, more public control of energy, more public control of housing. The report you mentioned, Commonwealth report, talks around £200 billion being taken out of the utilities since they were privatised and deregulated in the 1980s. I mean, that is a shocking number, particularly when you see the infrastructure of water can't cope with sewage anymore, and obviously the transport infrastructure that I mentioned just nowhere near good enough. So, come back to your point about Reform UK. They were the cheerleaders for this privatisation in the 1980s, and I would say reports like the one you mentioned show that it has comprehensively failed and cheated the British public.
And then last one was, there was a stabbing the other day of Mohanad Goob, 15 years old, and there's a sort of knife crime problem, of course, not just in Manchester, in many cities. How do you think about how to deal with that problem and people's disillusionment, young people's sense of alienation and these kinds of problems?
It's absolutely tragic, the incident that happened this week, and our hearts go out to his family. Obviously been updated by GMP about it. I can't say much more because it's a live investigation, but it's just a really, really awful incident. And, we are working hard to kind of get over to young people the dangers of carrying a knife. Even if you're doing it because you're fearful, you're carrying it not through aggression but because of fear, it still means you can get caught up in a situation that can be life-changing. And you can lose your life either by being injured or because you'll be incarcerated. It's something about the modern times we're in where the pressures on young people, the pressures of social media kind of ratchet up situations, escalate them to these tragic consequences. Got to keep working hard on this issue. Truthfully, although these incidents are appalling and shocking, overall, with knife crime, the figures do not suggest that there is a major spike. There isn't. And I'm talking not so much about the crime figures, more the hospital admission figures. So we know there isn't a major, if you like, spike in knife crime. But nevertheless, one death on our streets is one too many. We're absolutely gutted about what's happened this week. And in many ways, one of the best ways to counter this is, yes, to have more police on the street, more stop and search. People may not like that, but we do have to get these weapons off the street where they're being carried. But mainly, more hope for young people, more direction for young people, kind of more sense of possibility for what they may achieve in the future. In the end, that is the best antidote to what we're seeing.
Thank you.